Welcome back to Outside Views, and today once again we are staring across the cold grey waters of the English Channel at a crisis that was supposed to be solved by now. The number of migrants crossing in small boats has hit its highest level since the record-breaking peak of 2022. And my personal view is that we are witnessing the total collapse of a political promise, the idea that taking back control of borders would be as simple as signing a piece of paper or leaving a union. And we're now in January 2026, and the data from the Home Office for the full year of 2025 has just been confirmed. 41,472 people reached the UK in small boats from France. And that is the second highest annual total on record, surpassed only by the 45,774 arrivals in 2022. And I find it absolutely staggering that after years of stop the boats rhetoric and millions of pounds spent on deterrence, the numbers are actually moving in the wrong direction again. It is a 13% increase compared to 2024 and a massive 41% jump from 2023. And my view is that the British government is trapped in a cycle of performative cruelty that does nothing to solve the underlying reality of why people are on those beaches in the first place. The sheer scale of the danger in 2025 has been horrifying, even if the headlines have become numb to it. At least 17 people lost their lives in the Channel last year, according to combined French and British reports. And the nature of the crossings has changed. The smugglers are now cramming even more people into unseaworthy vessels just to maximize their profit. In 2025, the average number of people per boat reached 62, up from 53 the year before. In June 2025, we saw a record monthly average of 65 people per boat, with some vessels carrying nearly 100 people. And it's a miracle the death toll isn't in the hundreds. But the business model of the gangs is thriving while the government's response is flailing. And my personal view is that the lack of safe legal routes is the oxygen that these smuggling networks breathe. Yet, the UK government continues to treat the symptom rather than the cause. Under Keir Starmer, the Labour government has attempted a massive pivot in 2025 with their new policy document, Restoring Order and Control. This is supposed to be the hard-headed alternative to the failed Rwanda scheme, but in my view, it's just another flavor of the same desperate deterrence strategy. The centerpiece of this plan is a move to temporary refugee status. That's a model similar to Denmark's. We talked about this. Under these new rules, which were unveiled in November 2025, refugee protection is no longer a permanent guarantee. It's a 30-month base protection that is reviewed every 2.5 years. And if the Home Office decides your home country is safe enough for you to return, your status is revoked. And even more extreme is the new 20-year route to permanent settlement, which quadruples the time refugees have to wait before they can feel truly secure in the UK. And my strong personal view is that this earned settlement model is designed to keep people in a state of permanent anxiety, harming their mental health and preventing any real integration into British society. There must be tougher sortings of the people, who are legal, who are illegal, etc. But keeping people in a limbo for ages, who should that help? You just create more parallel societies. But it isn't just about what happens to those who stay. The government is also ramping up transactional form of diplomacy to get people out. On December 29th, the Home Office announced that it had secured new bilateral return agreements with Angola and Namibia. And these countries have agreed to issue emergency travel documents within 5 days and to accept group charter flight for deportations. And for those who won't cooperate, the UK has started using visa sanctions as a weapon. The Democratic Republic of the Congo has already been hit with these penalties, losing fast-track visa services and VIP channels for their senior officials after refusing to accept deportation flights. And on that one, I am with Labour, to be honest. And Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has even threatened a total visa stop if cooperation doesn't improve. And my view is that this, what people call hostile environment diplomacy, and I hope it results in a few high-profile flights. But it doesn't do anything to stop the 41,000 people currently in the pipeline. The political pressure is becoming unbearable for the Labour Party. With local elections looming in May, Nigel Farage and Reform UK are soaring in the polls, often they are even hitting between 27 and 37%. And Farage has called the current UK-France returns agreement a farce, pointing out that by mid-December, the one-in, one-out deal had only seen 193 removals against tens of thousands of arrivals. And Labour is currently polling in third place in some surveys, and their vote is splintering because they are failing to satisfy either the compassionate wing or the control wing of the electorate. And my personal view is that by trying to out-tough the populace on migration, Starmer has walked into a trap. He has validated Farage's narrative that immigration is the number one problem, but he's incapable of providing the zero arrivals miracle that those voters are being promised. And the outside view is that the British government is trying to solve a 21st century global phenomenon with a 19th century isolationism. The Brexit paradox is that by leaving the EU, the UK lost its access to the Dublin regulation and other return mechanisms, making it harder to manage its borders and not easier. And as of January 2026, there's still no comprehensive agreement between the UK and the EU on the return of asylum applicants. Why should the EU do this? While the EU's overall irregular arrivals dropped by 18% in the first half of 2025, the Channel route saw a 26% increase. The UK is now an outlier in Europe, an island that has cut itself off from the very cooperation it needs to manage its own coastline. And unless there's a radical shift toward creating genuine safe routes and rebuilding European cooperation, the small boats crisis will continue to be the anchor that drags down every British government. The White Cliffs of Dover used to be a symbol of hope, but in 2026 they have become a monument to a policy of failure and a control that exists only in the imagination of some politicians.